From wildly unconventional sci-fi creepers to twisted tales of demonic possession, we've got a little something to unnerve even the savviest of shock-adoring cinephiles. These are the most disturbing movies of the past decade. If you've entered the earth-shattering rabbit hole of Jonathan Glazer's music videos, you already know the director has a particular penchant for pushing boundaries with unsettling imagery and ominous tones. One might even say Glazer revels in the bewildering, as few directors dare. It's only natural then that he'd continue weaving challenging images and disturbing themes into his feature films. Few would argue that Glazer hasn't already tested some serious boundaries with 2000's searing crime drama Sexy Beast and 2004's psychosexual mystery Birth. But neither of these films could even begin to prepare us for how Glazer would push things with 2013's Under the Skin. It's a full-on assault of the senses from its opening moments to its last. It features a revelatory performance from Scarlett Johansson that's about as far from the MCU as you can get. And there's a scene about halfway through that's so relentlessly unnerving you'll struggle not to turn it off. Keep watching though, because even if Under the Skin often feels like a movie you survive more than watch, crossing the finish line on this extraterrestrial odyssey is one of the most rewarding cinematic experiences you'd ever hope to endure. Argentinian filmmaker Gaspar Noé has made quite a reputation for himself over the years. More than just about any other director with a film on this list, Noé has made it his personal quest to shock and provoke. He broke minds and pushed viewers to the limit with the hyper-violent, emotionally punishing reverse narrative of 2002's Irreversible. But it seems he had a different sort of head trip in mind for his third offering, 2009's hallucinatory pseudo-afterlife drama Enter the Void. Noé opens the action with a drug-dealing French expat with a penchant for wild hallucinogens meeting his end in a Tokyo bar. Upon death, his soul is cast free of his body and meanders through the film with an unknown goal in mind. Noé captures said soul's every meandering post-life moment in an incredible point-of-view shot, his camera floating in and out of moments, memories, and molecules like an omnipotent specter. And yes, that boldly stylistic approach is as breathtakingly brilliant and immersive as it is doggedly disconcerting. The result is a film that's as oddly calming and thought-provoking as it is vividly adversarial, not to mention as mind-bogglingly original as any film produced in the past decade. When the director of one of the greatest horror movies in cinematic history claims your film is the scariest movie they've ever seen, you know you've done something special. So when the legendary William Friedkin, the man behind The Exorcist, started telling people that Jennifer Kent's 2014 indie movie The Babadook will, quote, scare the hell out of you, genre lovers immediately took notice. Friedkin wasn't lying. Possessed of a singular sense of eerie, The Babadook tells the story of a single mother struggling to raise a son with some serious emotional issues. Of course, given that the woman's husband died en route to the child's birth, it's clear that both mother and son have some deep-rooted issues to work through. Those issues complicate their lives even further when a horrifying children's book called Mr. Babadook appears in their home. As Kent slowly begins to unwind her unholy creep fest, a surprising narrative begins to take shape, one that insightfully explores heavy emotional themes about surviving trauma and the struggles of being a single parent with a devastating case of depression. As it happens, The Babadook is also a first-rate monster movie with more genuine scares than your average genre fare. Yes, The Babadook will scare the hell out of you, but it'll leave your heart in your throat, too. According to writer-director Ari Aster, his brutalist 2018 shocker Hereditary is really just a little family drama at its core. But that's sort of like calling Jaws a charming tale of a fish out of water. So while we can't say that Hereditary isn't a family drama, we also want to be crystal clear that Hereditary is definitely more than just that. Still, true to Aster's statement, Hereditary initially presents itself as an atypical sort of indie drama about a family in grief. As the film unfolds, a deep, dark past begins to rise to the surface, and Hereditary spirals into a pulse-pounding supernatural nightmare that you have to see to believe. Just be warned that you'll never be able to unsee it. And in case you haven't experienced it for yourself, we'll simply say you'll know the precise moment when Aster flips the proverbial switch from family drama to full-blown family tragedy. You'll know because the moment it happens is easily one of the most shocking in the history of cinema. It's a brutal, exhausting affair, but if you manage to stick with it, you'll bear witness not to just one of the greatest horror movies of the decade, but of all time. With Aster's Hereditary immediately raising the bar for genre filmmakers young and old, it seemed unlikely that anyone would top the film in terms of unadulterated head-rolling shock value for the foreseeable future. Seems the only person capable of even coming close was Aster himself. While Midsommar may not quite match Hereditary in terms of shocks and scares, it might be the better film in terms of emotional impact and mercilessly ominous energy. Of course, Aster told Vice that Midsommar is a relatively straightforward breakup movie. Believe us when we say that Midsommar is a breakup movie in the same way that Hereditary is a family drama, which means that it's not really a breakup movie at all.
No, please. I'm not trying to attack you.
It really feels like you are.
Well then I'm sorry. I just got confused.
The relationship in question belongs to Danny, played by Florence Pugh, and Christian, played by Jack Renner. And if there ever was a couple in need of a breakup, it's them. But nothing is ever that easy in the worlds of Aster, and from the torturous opening moments of Midsommar, the director is out to turn the screws of the pair's doomed relationship in increasingly twisted ways. By the time the couple and their pals get to the titular Swedish festival, fates are effectively sealed, though nothing can even remotely prepare you for the gory, sun-drenched mayhem Aster has in store for the rest of the film. Like several of the filmmakers with frightful flicks on this list, Lars von Trier has developed a bit of a reputation for making shamelessly confrontational films that tend to be difficult to watch. Over the years, von Trier and his movies have been labeled many things by fans and detractors alike. His 2011 sci-fi drama Melancholia finds the director at his most nihilistic, and also at his stylistic height. The film follows a pair of sisters played by Kirsten Dunst and Charlotte Gainsborough. Each struggles to keep their lives together as mankind has recently been made aware that a big blue planet is on a collision course with Earth, and the world will soon cease to exist. Melancholia opens with one of the saddest weddings ever committed to film. It ends with the Earth literally being obliterated. The moments in between offer glimpses of lovingly crafted moments of pre-doom bliss, and equally dour explorations of the sisters' lives once they learn the end is nigh. Somewhere in the mix, von Trier delivers a lavishly photographed and emotionally draining apocalyptic drama that's as hard to watch as it is to look away from. Prior to helming 2016's Doctor Strange, Scott Derrickson made a name for himself among genre enthusiasts. He caught our attention with 2005's possession drama The Exorcism of Emily Rose, but it was 2012's Sinister that proved Derrickson a horror purist of the first order. The film follows the story of a washed-up true crime author played by the fantastic Ethan Hawke. He moves his family into a house where a grisly crime has taken place so he can research the events up close and personal. Unfortunately, when he finds an old box of Super 8 films in his attic, the man and his family get a little closer to the truth than anyone would have wanted. Be warned that those 8mm films are likely to cost you a few nights of sleep, but they're only a small part of what makes Sinister such a black-hearted delight. The film is at its best when wallowing in ominous tones and gritty gothic imagery, and Derrickson makes the most of Sinister's menacing aura. He takes a perverse pleasure in the film's slow burn approach and pulls the blood-stained rug out from viewers in a finale that'll have you peeking through your sweaty palms. It can often be quite difficult to decipher exactly what it is about a movie that gets under your skin. In the case of Giulia Di Cornio's astonishing first feature Raw, it's a little easier to figure out, because Di Cornio essentially spends the entirety of the film's 100-minute runtime unleashing a near-constant deluge of horrifying sounds and images and scenarios. That's not to say Raw is a mile-a-minute shock-for-the-sake-of-shock gorefest. Quite the opposite, in fact. Di Cornio takes a decidedly steady-handed approach to her film, doling out the shocks as they come. She does it all while quietly delivering a vicious, unapologetically sexy college drama that legitimately turns the genre on its head. We should tell you up front that the film follows the trials of a young university student who unexpectedly finds herself with an insatiable appetite for human flesh. But instead of reveling in gory effects and schlocky scares, Di Cornio takes a humanistic approach to Raw's shocking story. She uses the gore to bolster a witty, insightful character study that becomes, against all obvious odds, a compelling coming-of-age drama about cannibalism. We're not going to bore you by trying to explain what Shane Carruth's Upstream Color is about, if only because entire thesis papers could be written on that particularly slippery subject. We'd offer that Upstream Color is a film less concerned with what it's about than what it can make you feel, and there's seemingly no end to what Carruth can achieve on that particular front. We'll simply say that the film follows a woman who, after being parasitically hypnotized by a thief and having her entire life looted, is left with a ruined future and no memory of what happened. She meets a man with a similar story played by Carruth, and as they fugitively try to piece together their individual miseries, they stumble upon a truth beyond imagination. What follows is nothing short of a deeply paranoid cinematic assault on the senses that simply has to be experienced to be believed. Upstream Color is a decidedly unnerving experience that will have you scratching your head for days, months, and even years after the credits roll. Set in an isolated mountainous region of Europe circa the 15th century, Lucas Fogelfeld's gothic nightmare Hagazussa propels itself forward at a subglacial clip. While the film succeeds at capturing the slow pace of life in the hills, Fogelfeld also uses that pacing to cast a hypnotic sort of spell over viewers. That won't be broken until the film's stomach-churning final moments. En route to that beyond brutal finale, Fogelfeld uncorks a pitch-black folktale about a single woman with a pagan past trying to survive the wilderness and raise her infant daughter in relative peace. Of course, when your neighbors live in constant fear of magic and spirits and witchcraft, the natural world is far from your most dangerous foe. While it's certain to test the patience of those seeking to sate their bloodlust and schlocky scares, Hagasussa's final act is certain to haunt the minds of any viewers who make it to the end for years to come. If history has taught us anything, it's that Hollywood loves a good story of rebellious smart whip youths running amok. While classics like Rebel Without a Cause, A Clockwork Orange, and Spring Breakers have kept the bar for such films raised perpetually high over the years, Corey Finley's Thoroughbreds proves that there's still room for one of cinema's favorite subgenres to grow. At the center of Finley's dark dramedy is a pair of upper-crust Connecticut teens who exist on opposing ends of the emotional spectrum. Lily, played by Anna Taylor-Joy, feels everything too strongly, while Olivia Cook's Amanda is incapable of feeling anything.
Like you don't have any negative feelings?
Like I don't have any feelings, ever.
When the estranged friends are reunited, they find that they're each losing control of their lives and are uniquely equipped to help each other out. That help comes at a cost, as the girls' one shot at liberation involves a deviously violent plan. While it propels Thoroughbred's narrative forward, it's hardly the focal point of the film, with Finley instead using it to craft a penetrating character study about a pair of brilliant but tragically fractured young minds. Horror movies are essentially designed to take audiences into the dark corners of the world and show them the unspeakable things that happen there. Sometimes that dark corner is a physical place, as in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Other times it's a place in the mind, like The Cell. Nicholas Pesch's grisly debut, The Eyes of My Mother, is the rare case where mind and place converge to explore one of the darkest corners ever captured on film. The film's opening moments are surprisingly serene, with a girl and her family living in relative peace on an isolated farm. But Pesch takes a sledgehammer to that idyllic life early in the action. When he does, The Eyes of My Mother goes dark in ways that words simply cannot convey, ways that ensure the film will stay burned into your brain for all eternity. We'd wager you've heard whispers of the film's vivid depictions of violence, torture, and gore. While the film, shot in stunning black and white, is unflinching in its depiction of such acts, the most gruesome deeds tend to occur off-screen, though that only heightens viewers' reactions. Pesch further deepens the darkness by using the fragile, emotionless beauty of star Kika Magalhaes against viewers in service of turning The Eyes of My Mother into a character study about trauma and soul-consuming loneliness. Speaking of soul-crushing loneliness, it's the main culprit at work in the relentlessly bleak possession film The Blackcoat's Daughter, directed by Oz Perkins, the son of Psycho's Anthony. That being said, there is a mysterious evil force running amok in the film that may or may not have claimed the soul of the central character and forced her into committing unconscionable acts of violence. Possible demons and possessions aside, loneliness and isolation are the real driving forces at play in The Blackcoat's Daughter. The film unfolds largely on the grounds of an all-girls Catholic school somewhere in the far distant north. When two of the girls, played by Kiernan Shipka and Lucy Boynton, are stranded there over winter break, things get weird very quickly, with the younger girl apparently being possessed by some unseen demonic presence. Meanwhile, a parallel narrative finds a grieving couple picking up a desperate young woman, played by Emma Roberts, at a bus stop, not knowing she's an escaped mental patient. These narratives will eventually converge in wickedly clever fashion and to utterly heartbreaking effect. Perkins controls the action every step of the way with a steady hand and singular vision, building a suffocating sense of atmospheric dread into every frame of the film. In doing so, he delivers a deeply humanist supernatural tragedy and one of the darkest possession films we've ever seen. It's probably a bit unfair to label Darren Aronofsky's Mother a horror film, although there's a palpable sense of unease running through the film and patently horrific moments throughout. If we're being completely honest, Mother doesn't fit neatly into any single genre, because there's never really been a movie quite like it before, and we're still not sure how Aronofsky got such a brazenly over-the-top freak show made. We're glad he did though, because Aronofsky's frenzied tale of a couple's idyllic existence being demolished by increasingly bizarre occurrences from the outside world is about as much devious gonzo fun as you can have in a panic-inducing movie. Even if we've come to accept a certain level of button-pushing from Aronofsky over the years, Mother finds the director pushing boundaries further than ever. In doing so, he crafted a harrowing cinematic allegory unlike any film that's come before, and likely anything that'll come after. Sometimes it's not so much the story a film tells that makes one uneasy as it's the characters who populate it. If you've already seen Dan Gilroy's searing news cycle satire Nightcrawler, you know full well that Lou Bloom is one of those characters. You also know that the reason the character in the film itself is so unsettling is because of the abrasive energy Jake Gyllenhaal brings to the role. Though Gyllenhaal's work in Nightcrawler was ignored by the Academy, his turn as the morally empty Bloom remains not just one of the best performances of that year, but of his career. Nightcrawler may well be the best film the actor has ever starred in, and undoubtedly the most disturbing. The film unfolds among the seedy underbelly of Los Angeles and finds Gyllenhaal's Bloom attempting to make a name for himself in the world of freelance crime journalism. As he rises to fame, Bloom begins to eradicate the line between eyewitness to tragedy and willing participant. Bolstered by crackling writing and direction from Gilroy, Gyllenhaal's performance as Bloom transforms Nightcrawler from satire into a full-blown creepshow about a modern vampire with a troubling taste for on-camera blood.
When I say that I want these things, I mean that I want them, and I don't want to have to ask again.
With boldly stylistic flicks like Pusher, Drive, and Only God Forgives, Danish filmmaker Nicholas Winding Refn has proved himself to be a filmmaker wholly obsessed with seedy pulp dramas dressed up in stark, neon-drenched visuals. Though it remains a divisive film even among Refn's fan base, The Neon Demon is essentially the culmination of everything that's made Refn such an intriguing artistic force. Oddly enough, The Neon Demon also features one of Refn's least compelling setups. A pretty young woman moves to LA in the hopes of becoming a model. The wickedness Refn spins from that simplistic setup is nothing short of genre genius, with the city and everyone who runs it literally feasting on the woman's youthful vitality even as they wax poetic on what beauty really is. Visually arresting, amorally fanciful, and often gruesomely realistic, The Neon Demon is basically everything Nicholas Winding Refn does well turned up to 11. Love it or hate it, the film remains one of the most deeply jarring portraits of fashion culture the movies have ever presented. Structured as a near kaleidoscopic look at tragedies past and present, Lynn Ramsey's We Need to Talk About Kevin is a film less concerned with the motivations of the fateful act at its core, a mass killing in a school, than it is with the lives behind it. As such, the film focuses much of its narrative energy on a mother, played by Tilda Swinton, and her son Kevin, who will one day be the architect of the unthinkable tragedy. The film follows the pair's troubled relationship from birth, and finds Swinton giving one of the finest performances of her career as a mother who desperately tries to love her son, even as his psychopathic behaviors become more pronounced with age. It's a perilous landscape, with Ramsey deftly walking the tightrope between humanizing and demonizing Kevin, even as the film explores the tragic mother who always saw the evil within. As the film jumps back and forth in time, exploring the aftermath of the violence as much as the prelude, a soul-shaking sense of dread takes hold, and We Need to Talk About Kevin becomes a fractured mirror designed to reflect a sickness consuming the world around us. Wisely, Ramsey offers no remedy, and instead leaves us to wallow in the mess we, as a society, seem destined to keep cleaning up. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite movies are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.